Strictly Healthy, and this is the fourth in our series to do with myths regarding our health or health issues. So the first one dealt with fat, the second one dealt with glutathione. We had one about bread, the best type of bread, as well as this issue I'm particularly keen and interested in is about gut health. There's a lot of information surrounding that, so we're going to try and cover off a few points today. And of course, I'm very pleased and excited to have Patricia Bowerman again with us to share her knowledge and expertise regarding these issues. So we're talking about gut health today. Now, there is some myths around the gut, etc., what it is, etc. Now, what can you share with us, Patricia, today about our gut? What exactly is it? Where does it start and end? That sort of thing.
That's a very good question. Very good question, because I didn't know for a long, long time. Our gut, our gastrointestinal tract actually begins with our mouth, goes right the way down to the back passage.
Yeah.
All of that. When I was little, our gut was like below our stomach, below our belly button. It was, that bit sort of down there. And we didn't talk about down there when I was a child at all. And it was just a waste dump. It was just food that had left our stomach and it's just waiting to be got rid of. And when I was 15, I was diagnosed with IBS. Nobody talked about what that meant, what I should do. And then it progressed into ulcerative colitis and Crohn's as a young adult, and all the problems associated with that. At best, I was given steroids and sulfa drugs, but you could only take them for a very, very short time. And then you stop taking them, and then, the symptoms could be alleviated a little bit, but not very much. Certainly didn't heal the problem. And of course, I was raised in America, so I was raised on the standard American diet of white bread, tinned food out of packets, and like lunch meat. Nobody eats lunch meat anymore. Did you eat lunch meat when you were a kid?
Not really so much, because I'm from the Caribbean, but no.
No. Well, it was absolutely horrific. So
how are things now with you now? Things a bit better? What's the situation with you now?
Well, I learned an awful lot from then up till now. And I'm 70. I'll be 71 in a couple of weeks. So I've learned a lot about bacteria. So I'm going to sort of start at our beginning. So when we're an embryo, let's see, get my hands right. Our brain and our gut are connected. And then as that little fetus little embryo starts to develop into a fetus, that brain and the gut separates, but they stay connected here, which is our spinal cord.
Right.
Well, intertwined in that spinal cord is something called the vagus nerve, but it's actually a series of nerves. And that is like a communication highway. We now know that more communication begins in our gut and goes to our brain than actually originates in our brain and goes to our gut. I always thought our brains are like the command center, the computer that gives all the commands for everything our body does. But we now know, scientists now know, 80% of our neurotransmitters are in our gut. I didn't know there were any neurotransmitters in our gut. Fascinating.
That's the point, though, isn't it?
And here's another one. 70% of our immunity is in our gut.
Yes.
Massive.
Yes.
So, with this super highway of communication between our gut and our brain and our gut, we sort of need to keep that communication open, and flowing. So Scientists also know that 50% of our dopamine is produced in our gastrointestinal tract. I never would have thought. Never would have thought. And 95% of our serotonin is manufactured in our gut. So these
makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, it only makes sense because I was told, because it's still, because of my upbringing, doesn't quite register, but I'm learning. So these influence things like our circadian rhythms, what have to do with our sleep patterns, anxiety, depression. Depression we feel in our head. You can also get that sensation in your stomach, especially like an intuitive sense, or we get those little feelings in our gut, which now we know we need to pay attention to. But those things also affect our memory. I've always wanted more memory, and I think my memory now is much better than I was younger because of the things that I've learned.
I think, sorry, you told, just going backwards, you told me before too that you feel as though well, sorry, I won't interrupt you. You carry on. There was a point I wanted to bring up, but you carry on. Sorry.
It might tie together. It might tie together because there's so much in this, and I am hoping to tie some things together so that it's not such a mystery.
Okay.
So human beings share a dynamic, multi-partner, mutualistic relationship with trillions of microbial cells that inhabit our gastrointestinal tract. It's like we are not alone. So this is a fascinating statistic. The good bacteria in our body outnumber our human cells 9-1. So if you think all the cells that we can see, the ones that we know are on the inside that we can't see, are minuscule compared to the number of good bacteria. And we have different bacteria in our eyes, different ones in our nose, different ones in our mouth, in different areas of our mouth, and our throat, our pits, all over our body, we have these vital good bacteria. And even the palm of our hand, get this camera right, the palm of our hand has different bacteria than the back of our hands.
Yes, it's amazing, isn't it?
It's an amazing world. We can't see them, so we don't know they're there. But then the food that we eat is covered with these bacteria. So take cabbage, for instance. The cabbage leaves are coated with a specific bacteria. That's why they're so brilliant for sauerkraut, fermenting.
Right.
You need that. You need that bacteria.
Yes, and I think before when we talked, you talked about Hippocrates and what he had to say as well.
Well, I can't wait to get to heaven and meet that guy, because he said 2,000 years ago, all disease begins in the gut. How in the world did he know that? And let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
It's an interesting topic, though, because it really relates, and we can see how that affects what's going on with us when we eat, etc.
And when things go wrong,
affects us. Yeah.
When things go wrong, we sort of know where to look.
So what's destroying things now, like in our bodies? What's happening that's going wrong?
That's one of my favorite questions. I love to answer that. So maybe your viewers have seen household cleansers that say kills 99.90% of the bacteria.
Yes.
Why would we want to do that? I put it down to marketing. We're told germs are bad, that bacteria are germs, and they're not, as we just glossed over. So it's important to know what you're cleaning your house with, and what are you cleaning? This invisible world of marvelous bacteria, but also something that your viewers hopefully have heard of is glyphosate. So a lot of people have heard of glyphosate, and they're not quite sure what it is.
Can you explain a bit further then about that?
I would love to. I would love to. It is in and on most of our food. It's spray. It's a weed killer, so it's sprayed to kill weeds during the growing season. It's also sprayed as a desiccant to dry the crops out and get them into production faster. It does not dissipate. It doesn't wash off. It doesn't get rained off because it penetrates the crop and destroys the vitamins, the minerals, and the amino acids, which is why we eat them. It destroys the soil. But interestingly, it destroys something called the shikimate pathway. The shikimate pathway is a communication pathway between the cells.
Yes, so we don't want to do that for sure.
Well, all those good bacteria that we mentioned, all over our body that outnumber our human cells 9-1, all those trillions of those bacteria have a shikimate pathway. So you imagine, well, you're eating these things, and they're destroying the way that the cells communicate. They can't give orders of what needs to be done. We're hearing so many gut issues blamed on gluten and bread. We're hearing a lot about.
It's important that we, just going back to that about the glyphosate, it's important we should use products that are organic.
We want to eat organic food, but I think to really drive home how devastating glyphosate is that, like leaky gut is so often glyphosate. And bread is getting such a bad bash. I'd refer your viewers back to our previous episode on bread, but I just can't talk about glyphosate enough because it destroys, like the cells in our gut are connected, but they're connected by a mesh. It's a mesh junction that keeps the good stuff in and the bad stuff out. The glyphosate destroys that, so the bad stuff's getting in. And we have a larger concentration of good bacteria. The lower down in our colon we go, it's more and more dense. And so destroying that is what's contributing to a lot of gluten issues, a lot of IBS issues, a lot of inflammatory gut issues. And some of those common gut issues now, the people I'm working with, are constipation. That is not talked about enough, because you imagine the food that you've eaten, all the nutrients have been extracted from it. It's getting ready to leave your body. It's just waiting to go out, and it's stuck.
Yes.
So it's interfering with a lot of those communications that need to take place. And then because it's a waste now, it's giving off toxins, especially if you're not eating organically. And it's just giving off more toxins. So really it's imperative you keep things moving, but also things like bloating, gas, brain fog. Yes, brain fog can be from the gut. Of course, IBS we talked about, digestive issues, ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, food intolerances. Need to look at the gut. So let's just go back to the probiotic bacteria.
So yes, I wanted to ask about that and about sugar as well.
Most of us are taking probiotics, maybe in the form of yogurt or fermented drinks or fermented veg. But first of all, you want to make sure if you're buying them that they're not pasteurized, because pasteurization kills the bacteria that you want to intake. But interestingly, too, is that our stomach acid kills off a large number of those bacteria. Our stomach acid is one of our immune defense systems.
Yes, that's helpful, isn't it?
So we should be breathing through our noses. We should be breathing through our noses because that's another huge defense mechanism. So say you encounter a virus. You breathe in a virus, it goes down your nose. It's ushered by the mucus in your nose into your stomach, and the stomach acid will take care of it. Whatever goes into your stomach acid gets broken down like food, but also viruses, also probiotics. So if you're taking in all these probiotics, you might not be getting the benefits that you think you are or that you hope you are. So that sort of brings us to like prebiotics.
Right. I was going to ask about that. How does that come into play?
Well, prebiotics are the food for the probiotics. These bacteria need to eat, and I've seen it in action making sourdough bread. And I feed the starter, this live starter, some flour and some water, and all these bubbles appear because they're digesting all the good bacteria in the wheat. So we need to keep these alive. We need to feed these good bacteria. If you're taking a probiotic, ideally, you're going to take it maybe for a few months. It depends on what the issue. I monitor my clients, whatever their gut issue is. What are they seeing once they start taking the probiotic? It's not something you take forever because you're going to make your gut very lazy. You want to consume prebiotics all the time because you're eating all the time. You repopulate your gut properly, and then maybe take a probiotic a few days a month, a week a month, something like that. Monitor what's going on. But the prebiotics you want to eat all the time. And you mentioned sugar. Well,
yes.
I'm just going to back up a minute about the prebiotics. If you're eating, if you're having like bloating, cramping, maybe a fatigue after eating, you might want to write down what it was you ate like a half an hour or 2 hours ago. There's also something, a histamine trigger that can cause those sorts of problems. And maybe eating too much fiber can cause that. So you've got an imbalance in your gut. But if you've not heard of histamine triggers, or you want to know more, get in touch with me via Linda, and I can share some information, because an awful lot of people think it's gluten and it's a histamine trigger. Anytime they get a stomach ache, it's got to be gluten. It's not always.
So I've always heard and knew that fiber is good, but you're saying as well now too much fiber is not always the best thing.
It's if you've got some issues, it could be a problem, but it's just a temporary problem, because you don't want to have a non-fibery diet at all.
No,
but it's getting to know your body, listening to your body. And then with sugar, like, how many of you listeners eat sugar? Probably a lot.
And it's hidden in a lot of things anyway. We don't always realize it.
Because they know how addictive it is. But when you crave something sweet, is it your taste buds that are craving the sugar? No.
Good point.
It's the imbalance in your gut saying, feed me sugar. So if you actually think of it as a little demon lying to you that you need sugar, you can tell him to get stuffed, and you can retrain your taste buds. You can retrain your taste buds. But I would like to caution your viewers about sort of playing DIY with probiotics. Because this is a very serious science, which I'm going to go to in just a minute. You can easily cancel out the benefits of the good bacteria. So you can cancel it out with your stomach acid, but you can cancel it out by mixing the wrong bacteria together. You can even cause problems by doing that. So when choosing a probiotic, stick to one formulation. Don't mix them unless you've been advised by someone who, nutritionist, or someone or health practitioner who knows what they're doing. I attended a talk by a nutritionist, and someone in the audience asked, what probiotic should I take?
Right.
Their response was acidophilus. That's only the genus. And they said, make sure it's refrigerated and you go straight home and put it in the fridge. I was absolutely gobsmacked.
So what's the advice?
Well, know what you're doing. Get a trusted brand. So you've got the genus, which would be the Acidophilus. You know, the genus, the species, and the strain need to be taken into consideration. Now, the one that I take, just listen to this. It'll go way over your head, but it has 6 different bacteria. One is Lactobacillus acidophilus LA14. Lactobacillus paracasi LPC37. Lactobacillus acidophilus NCFM. Lactobacillus rhamnosus EGAF. Lactobacillus rhamnosus HN001. And Bifidobacterium Anomalous lactis B107. Now, interestingly, Bifidobacterium with NRF2 activator is phenomenal if you carry the BRCA gene, which is the breast cancer gene. So this is like really serious science. And the probiotic that I take is also formulated to survive my stomach acid.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's good.
But it goes even further. It has a timed release. So it doesn't just dump all those bacteria in. It strategically places specific bacteria where they need to be all along that gastrointestinal tract. I mean, it's absolutely genius.
That's technology at work, isn't it?
Well, it is, and science is just coming along. If I had my life to live over again, I would devote my life to the study of bacteria. It's such an amazing frontier. But this specific formulation helps with overall health, IBS symptoms, bloating, constipation, absorption of nutrients, energy metabolism. It actually helps to provide a barrier against chemical-induced damage. Chemical-induced damage. Well, we're exposed to chemicals all the time.
All the time, yeah.
It repairs
every direction, yeah.
But it repairs colon damage, restores that gut permeability that we talked about, helps prevent intestinal inflammation. Now, it enhances innate immunity through the activation of toll-like receptors. If any of your listeners know what toll-like receptors are, they'll be blown away. If you want to know more, I'm not going to go into it here. It'll be another whole episode. But
I know, and then I would be on here for an hour or more dealing with that.
It helps with weight management, liver health, insulin resistance, and helps to inhibit colon cancer.
Brilliant. Oh, that sounds good. Excellent information. But if we could change tack slightly, what about smoothies? People are using smoothies all the time. What are your thoughts on that?
I have a lot to say about smoothies. So there's nothing wrong with a liquid hit of nutrients. But I should say, however, when they're used as a meal replacement, I think they can be dangerous. So a psychiatrist explained to me what are the whole digestive process. We think, oh, we get hungry, we feed our taste buds. That was nice, wasn't it? But actually, our digestive process starts kicking in when we're shopping for food. Maybe even when we start writing down our shopping list of food that we're going to buy. And then at some point in the day, we start thinking about the food we're going to eat the next meal. And then we begin to chop and peel and boil water. And then we lay the table. And then we start smelling what's to come. And this is all having an effect on our body. So now the food is served. So we begin to salivate and our tummy rumbles, and maybe we begin to salivate when we're cooking even. But now we sit down to eat. So now our digestive juices begin to flow. And then as we chew, a whole cascade of events are taking place in our brain, our mouth, our stomach, and aiding the whole digestive process and breaking down and absorbing the nutrients. So I've worked with quite a few people who relied on smoothies.
Yes.
And then they bloat after having their one meal a day.
Mm-hmm.
So I would
So
say,
not the thing to do then.
well, if you're going to have a smoothie with all the nutrients, fine. But
Mm-hmm.
but think about where that smoothie comes from. Sometimes they're come out of a packet.
I'm
You
just
know, it's like,
stopping this. Can you hear this noise? I'm sorry.
yeah.
Somebody's printing.
Oh my goodness.
I apologize for that.
You have an off button. Just press the off button.
I'm trying to turn it off.
But what are smoothies made of? So often they're made of dried fruits and vegetables, which is really processed food. But if you're gonna have one, I'm not saying they're all bad by any means. Sometimes you make a smoothie fresh, but it's just don't make your gut lazy. Have your smoothie with your sandwich, or have it with a salad, or have a smoothie in the morning with your porridge, so that you're chewing. You're chewing. And then when you're shopping, prioritize your fresh produce. Wheat, reminder, wheat gets 2 sprays of glyphosate. So all your wheat products must be organic. Otherwise, they're lethal. Lentils and chickpeas get an awful lot of glyphosate. So make sure they're organic. Apples have no fewer than 15 pesticides. Organic apples are penny difference. 60% of the bread in UK has glyphosate or other pesticides. I would say do not eat commercial bread at all. If you watch our previous episode on bread, and then be in touch if you want to know more about it.
Yeah, that was excellent actually, because you did outline what's the best type of bread or better type of bread that we should actually be consuming that is helpful to our gut.
It's the only type of bread. Gluten-free bread is not giving you nutrients. You know, the flour is vastly important, and then the process of making it as well.
Okay, well, good. Now, I'm going to just wrap up and summarize some of what we learned today. However, before we do that, I understand you have a little gift you want to share with the listeners and the watchers today, the viewers. What is that?
This is the Bristol poo chart.
Exciting, isn't
it? It is exciting. I think health is exciting. I think every family, if you have children, every family in a listening range should have this in their loo. It should be just common conversation. You know, if a child's throat hurts, they're going to tell you. You know, they want to be in range here. They should look at their poo. Yes. You know, that's a very, it's a barometer of your gut health. So that if, like, Mommy, this is what my poo's like today, you know, something's going on there. Sorry, I can't hold that quite right with the camera. But if you'd like your own copy, be in touch with Linda and she'll let me know and we'll send it to you, or comment. If you want to know about histamine foods, you want to know about the proper bread, or if you have any gut related questions, or you want your own poo chart, just comment below what you want. We'll be in touch.
Right. Yeah, that's very helpful, Patricia, and I apologize for that interruption there with the printing. But so, you know, we've covered off on a few things that we want the viewers to consider is that, you know, the gut really starts, as you say, it starts from even buying your food, when you start off purchasing your food.
Well, the digestive process begins with thinking about your food.
The whole digestive process starts there. And as well as the process starts with what you're eating, all the way, it goes all the way through to the back passage, doesn't it? The gut-brain are connected. 80% of the neurotransmissions are in our gut. That's what we learned today. People feel the probiotics are best, but prebiotic foods really are what we need to be considering are better, right?
Well, the probiotics are sort of as needed, but you want to eat probiotics, you know, constantly every day.
Prebiotics.
Prebiotics.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And sourdough bread is the best type of bread that we should have. That's really helpful to our gut. And we did that episode about sourdough bread. So please, that's episode 3 in the series. So you want to have a look at that. And time release probiotics as well. You mentioned about that are good for us.
Yes, if they like more information about that, again, comment, probiotic.
Mm, okay. And the other thing too is it's important to chew your food as opposed to like drinking your food,
Very
because
important. Very
the
important.
system needs to be able to go through that digestive process. So those are some of the things we learned today. I want to thank you very much for your time. Anything else that you wanted to share as a final?
That's it. We ran a bit long today, but it's such an
That's
exciting
okay.
topic, and there's so
Yeah,
much more we could say. But
indeed.
do be in touch with any questions or comments, because it is sort of it's an unknown or new frontier, I think, that needs a
Indeed.
lot of exploring.
Very much so, yes. So I very much appreciate your time today. You always very helpful and good in sharing some excellent tips and points that we need to learn about. So I want to thank you all for joining us. And any questions or comments, get in touch. Let's see if I can get the email up that we can share that. And please do watch our previous episodes. A lot of it ties in. And we're hoping we can do a bonus episode as well and just tie up those 4 parts and points that we covered off, didn't we, Patricia,
That
in
would
the
be a good
4
thing to do.
episodes
Just
we've done. Yeah.
yes, look
So
forward
the
to that.
email is listed down below. So that's strictlyhealthyuk@gmail.com. If you have any questions or want to find out a bit more about what we've talked about this time in this episode. So again, thank you, and we'll speak soon. Bye for now.
Bye bye.